All right, all right, all right. What's happening, everybody? Welcome back to the Brent Gill Show, Comedians in Quarantine, Episode 3. We have got a fun show for you tonight. I hope you, that's what I forgot to do. I forgot to drop some of these videos in. I forgot to make this whole thing. I hope you've had a good day today. A good day in quarantine, that is. I know I've had a pretty decent day so far. No major complaints. Went to Costco. Boy, that was a shit show. Costco was great. I'll have a video on that tomorrow because I don't have it prepped right now because I knew I was forgetting something, but I gotta blow my nose, get this corona out. Oh, yeah. That right there is called riveting television, everyone. But yeah, we got a great show for tonight. Vinnie Montez, comedian Vinnie Montez, is going to be on the show in just a little bit. Vinnie, fascinating story with this guy. He just released a full-hour comedy special on Dry Bar Comedy, and he's going to come chat with us about that whole process, what that was like. Also, he lives a pretty interesting life. He has is pretty much dedicated his whole life to law enforcement. He has been in the law world for, I think since like 16 years old. And I think he only has about 8 more years before he retires. So he has been committed to it, and we're going to talk to him about what life is like living through life as a full-time police officer. Or a correctional officer. We're going to see what kind of things he did, what kind of fun calls he's had, what kind of scary calls he's had. The whole kind of works there. Then we're going to talk to him about what he's currently doing in social media and have a good little conversation with him. So today I've been... Boy, shit's wild out there. It's been beautiful, though. It's been raining a whole bunch here in Los Angeles, and it's just so gorgeous outside when we're not when we're all forced to be inside. It's nuts. I went to Costco today, and there was they like barricade. They like had barricades outside, which only allowed certain people in, or it forced you to go in and out one particular way. And I'm just outside, just trying to, lick every cart, that goes by. I feel like if I microdose enough germs, I won't need a flu shot or a or a vaccine for anything. Kids, don't try that at home. As always, feel free to check us out in our stream. I'm gonna make sure our stream here is actually playing, because that would be a minor detail if 3 hours go by. Looks good to me. Hope you all have been liking my my audio inputs as well for the music there with that YouTube license free shit. Oh, forgot to say this. Big shout out to Chiba Hut sending me all this dope swag. You're going to see not swag, big difference. Chiba Hut wouldn't send swag. But you're going to see a few of these different hats and some cool shit that they have given me throughout the next broadcast. But check this seedless hat out. First of all, this is what my head looks like without a hat. It's a lot of forehead. Let's just say that. I look like a stepdad on his night off, which we're going to hear in just a second. But check this fucking dope hat out. Look at the attention to detail in this. That's like a silk. It's like a silk Chiba Hut lining. And then, of course, hey, what's up, yo? Let's go coach some football. And then it's like, all right, we're going to make some sandwiches. But it's a seedless hat, which is fire. I've always wanted to have a seedless hat, and they have their logo right there. Really cool. Really excited to have them on board. Thanks so much for the sweet merch the sweet swag. I'm going to rep it on the show. If you have a Chiba Hut in your area, just make sure you go there because they are the shit. I'm still trying to break this guy in so it's on a little tighter than it should because I'm trying to even out the sides here, but what are you going to do? I thought I would start a little different today. I have all this stand-up comedy on all my hard drives, and I've never really wanted to just like full-on release it, you know? And so now I have an opportunity to full-on release it as the world is trapped. You're all trapped in your own, you know, inside, and so I figured I'd start releasing some comedy and let you guys know kind of what I'm all about if you don't know what my comedy's about. So, this is something I recorded years ago. This is kind of an old joke. I still use parts of this joke in my act, but I don't really do this whole thing anymore. Real fun time. This was recorded down at the Comedy Works South in Denver, Colorado. I don't remember who I was working with. Doesn't really matter because I ripped it. So this is a little welcome to the show. Welcome to me. This is what I do. And I hope you enjoy. So here you go.
Brent Gill, everybody. Hi, everybody. Hello. Hello, Bromwell. I'm here, everybody. Hello. My name is Brent Gill. I eat at Chili's alone. Hell yeah. You know, that's the fact. You see these B cups? The front row does. That's real talk. A little bit about myself before I dive into all this. I just turned 32 last month, everyone. And thank you, 2 people, a pretty sold out house. I get it. I look at myself every day like, fuck, I look good for 42, but shit. I look like a stepdad. Thank you for liking. It's more, and I have no kids. I'm 32, I have no kids, which I am pumped with because I fucking hate kids, dog. Man, like, yeah. I hate kids so much I feel like we should call condoms dream catchers. You know what I mean? I feel like part of the reason why I feel like I look so bad is today when I got ready for the show, I didn't shave my face up, but I had to bring a razor up to my forehead so I could shave the front part of my forehead because I'm not balding symmetrically like a normal human being balls with this thing. I want that. I'll take the W with like the front hair dog. I'll take that. I'll take that. But instead, I have a hole in the front of my head and I'm balding splotchily. What is this? This looks like an urban neighborhood getting gentrified. You see the front of my head?
I forgot about that.
Oh man! And like here's the problem too. It's like if I flex hard, like real, you see that point, right? You see that V? Yeah. God, I love you. Please. Man, there's something about a chick that loves a splotchily balding dude. But you see this though, ma'am? You see that? That is the OG start point of my hairline. It's right there. That is 3 fingers of face that I have increased. 2 years, 3 fingers. That's not a good finger-to-face ratio, man. 3 fingers isn't a good ratio for anything, right?
That was a good fingering joke.
Odd time to woo. My friends all tell me the same shit, too. It's always like the same 2 recommendations. Either A, shave it off, which I can't do, because I shaved my head completely bald in high school for football camp, and I stepped out of the bathroom. My dad looks at me and goes, oof. I was like, what? Why not? And he goes, yeah, no, you look like a penis. Don't do that. And I've got like this very short neck, too, so it's just like, circumcised, not circumcised. I've also been told to try Rogaine, which I have tried Rogaine. I grew a party in the back going out of business. So it's like a Radio Shack up here. Yeah, just like, we're open, kind of. We got 90% off of everything up front. We got like 2 HDMI cables over here, that's it. The other reason why I don't really want to shave my hair is because I don't feel like my hair is falling out. I feel like my hair is migrating down to my upper back and ears. So instead of shaving this off, I just grab my beard, mustache, and pube trimmer, and I just... okay, I got real quiet. Let's be real, it's the same trimmer. Yeah, for most of the dudes in here, it's the same trimmer, right? Like, I hate to break your perception of your man, but next time you walk into his bathroom, just take a mental note of how many trimmers he has. You hear that wave? That's one. That's one, and you realize it, and you're like, oh, fuck. Yeah, all we do is blow it off.
Hell yeah, that's me. Shameless self-promotion. Of course, you can check me out at I am Brent Gill on the Instagram and everything else. I missed that old joke. We're gonna start playing some old jokes here and there and everywhere coming up on the show in the future, and definitely some old clips from Infomation, which is that weird news show that I have. I got lots of stuff like that. So we're going to be streaming that content on upcoming shows. And in the meantime, we're going to get old Vinnie Montez on there. I didn't have a chance to say thanks to our sponsors. Of course, big thanks to our sponsors, Jim Hickox and Big Top Studios, Terrapin Care Station, Pearl Street Dental, Tommy Knocker Brewing, and Pilsner Urquell. Make sure you support them. They support us. And, of course, Chiba Hut. What's up? All right, we're going to call up Vinny. We got this. We did this pre-prep earlier. So, in theory, this should work just fine. But you know how stuff goes. So, I'm gonna get some music going. We're going to call him up. And I'll see you guys in just a little bit. Here you go. All right, everybody. We are live with comedian Vinnie Montez. Vinnie, what's happening, buddy?
What's up, Brent? How you doing, dude? We haven't chatted much in a while, huh?
Well, we're both doing our own things. Like, we're both, like, just out there just kicking ass. And it seems to me like, like both of us are just out there just trying to dominate this world,
Yeah, man, I think it's great. I love what you do. I love your energy. We always want each other to open up each other's shows because you have a lot of energy. Like, hey, man, let me headline. We're like, well, it's all good and everything, but I need an opener, somebody to bring the heat, up front.
I feel like that's how it always works. You know what I mean? I feel like that's how it always works. Where I was like, I really need someone with this to go in front of me. Yeah, that's good, man. How are you holding up in this whole quarantine right now?
I'm good, man. I'm working.
Are you working?
Yeah. I'm just, I'm lucky to be in a spot where I'm very fortunate. Where I don't want to admit this, but I have to because they all tell me, I've been a cop for the last 22 years.
Yep.
But I'm an administrator. I'll be honest about it.
Okay. Which is the safest part of being a cop.
Well, kind of, and I just, I want to be out there with the guys and gals, but yeah, I'm just busy doing like the organizational stuff behind the scenes right now. I'm able to work mostly remotely, and
Nice.
it's been I've been very lucky, but I also have an underlying I got asthma and I've had bad issues with my lungs for a long time, so
Interesting.
I'm in the actually, to be quite candid, I'm in the high risk category. So
I didn't know you had asthma.
yeah, I really don't have issues unless I get sick, and then once I get sick,
You're just screwed.
yeah, sick for quite a while. Yeah.
Really. And
Mhm.
it's all lung stuff. So it's all like you can't breathe or you're hacking stuff up.
um, I really like, if anybody who knows me, like I go to the gym, I lift. I've been not good about that as of recent times, but
me too.
like I've really never struggled with that part of it. It's just when I get like normal people get a mild cold or something, it's gonna last for me for a week or two. I'll be hacking a lung, no pun
Really?
intended. Yeah, and then like I got sick the first part of January, and it lasted till like the middle of February. So yeah,
Damn.
I gotta be really careful.
Damn. And like when did you learn that this kind of stuff was happening to you?
Oh, since I've been a kid,
Oh.
yeah, I mean, I've always had this underlying stuff. I mean, when you're young in your 20s, I would just compensate for it, your early 30s. But as I've gotten older, it's kind of really kicked in for me. It doesn't hold me back as long as I'm not sick. But, if I'm around smoke or we've had a couple forest fires over the course of my career. Well, more than that.
Yeah.
And anytime I'm around that, they always tell people with breathing issues to go inside. And I'm in the thick of that. I'm like sneezing, coughing,
Eesh.
whole 9 yards. So yeah.
Eesh. What's the
What about you?
worst like the worst attack you've ever had? Like did you have to have you ever had to go to the hospital?
Oh yeah, I've been in the hospital. Actually, when I first started working at the jail during the beginning of my career, I got like that's like I don't want to say this bad, but your system, your what's the word I'm looking for? Your immune system
Yes.
is it's subjected to like everything all at once. Because you're just very closely tight with people inside the jail, not only the people you're working with, but the people who are living there. And your body is subjected to a lot. And you can ask a lot of people that first start working inside of a correctional facility, at least for me and some of the people that I've worked with, I have never been more sick than I was in that first year working there. But it kind of gave me like super immunity for a long time after I got through it all.
That's like going through like I feel like that would be the same as working at an airport. You know what I mean? Like you're just touching so many different germs. I've been telling my mom and after all this flu epidemic this might change, but I never got flu shots because I'm like I microdose enough germs at the airport that I feel like I got everything.
Oh, it's a possibility. I don't know how that all works and everything, but
But you feel like you don't get as sick as you used to because you had, or at least in that era when you were working in the jail.
yeah, I would say it's been better. However, I could tell you, like, since I hit 40, I can definitely feel the difference between that and where I am now, um, for sure, without a doubt. But like, I've been really cognizant. I go to the doctor. They tell me I had some triggers, so like allergies were causing me problems.
Yep.
So I've done the series of shots where they go in and they poke you on the back 36
Yeah.
times, and I'm allergic.
I hear that's the worst because it just your back just starts to just itch and you can't
Yeah.
touch it.
Right. And then they take like this little dial and they're like, okay, are you allergic to this? And they hold this. Depending on how big the thing gets, And I was allergic to everything. And I mean everything except for mold, which it's kind of weird to me, but
Yeah,
at
that
the
is
same
weird.
time, yeah, mold is good. So if you got like, I like cheese and stuff, like blue cheese and stuff. So I eat that with no problem. I'm not trying to.
Give me the blue, give me the gorgonzola. I will take it all.
Oh, dude, speaking of the gorgonzola, that gorgonzola cream sauce they have at Comedy Works
My God.
South.
Unbelievable.
Oh, dude.
It's unbelievable. I want that on the side of my fries so I could just dunk my fry. Like I don't want them to soak in the fry. I just want to get like extra so I can just hammer that stuff. I would drink it if it was
That's
a little
exactly
more
what I was
socially
gonna say.
acceptable.
like when they leave the green room, they give you that little like silver thing they usually put ketchup in. They'll put like an extra gorgonzola in there, and I'm all.
Dude, I'm not gonna lie. I've been known to get to the bottom of Zapp's potato chips, and they're cooked in peanut oil, and they always have the spice and the oil at the bottom. And I'll rip the bag open and fucking lick the inside of the bag because it just it's so good. It's probably not hell. I can only do it when no one's around. Because it's one of those embarrassing things that you do that you don't want to tell anyone except for on a YouTube live stream.
Well, let me tell you that I'll get seriously honest. Okay, so I'm going to go back to when I worked in the jail. One of the things is when people get commissary, what they call canteen, I'd see the inmates put like 4 and 5. I mean, this might be something good with everything that's going on. You want to try something at home because I did this. But I'd see the inmates, they put together what they call the jail burrito. And they would get like
that already sounds gross.
They get like 4 bags of ramen. They'd ask for a clean trash bag, and they put like 4 bags of ramen in there. They take the Slim Jims and they cut them up like the meat through it, and they'd add that cheese sauce, like it's a Cheese Whiz, but it come in like this little container that you rip the top off, like a yogurt container.
Okay.
And they put that in there, and then they put like Doritos and hot Cheetos and all that stuff just mixed in there, and then they would add hot water to it. They'd wrap it up. They'd spin it off in the bag. They'd wrap it in newspaper to keep the heat, and then they put it underneath the jail bunk to just basically cook. It was like an oven. And then they let it sit there for like, I don't know, half an hour, 45 minutes. I don't know the time exactly. And they pull it out, and it was like this gelatinous burrito that had formed, right? And then everybody would get around the table. They'd bust this bag open. And everybody that threw in on the jail burrito was allowed to eat at the table, and they just squirt hot sauce all over it, and they'd be just going to town watching TV or whatever. So I was like, man, one day I was at home, and I was like, I had a bunch of those ramen noodles, and I was like, what if I just...
Shut up.
I did. I made it, and it was delicious.
Was it really? Shut up.
It was, but I had Tabasco sauce because that's the way I like to roll. And I was putting my Tabasco on there, and I got to be honest, it was delicious. Probably the worst thing you could ever eat for you.
Dude, that sounds like something a freshman at CU would, or like a freshman in any college. Like I could see ASU students down in what is it, Tempe, Arizona, or no, Tucson, Arizona. I could see them just destroying stuff like that. And imagine what that's doing to the inside of your body, and then to your butt on the way out. It's got to be spicy.
Oh, but dude, I eat the hottest stuff ever. I'm just straight up tell you.
So you're a Tabasco guy, though.
But I'm a Tabasco guy. There's this stuff made by Mrs. Renfro's. I eat this regularly. We order like 4 or 5 jars of it a month. It's called Ghost Pepper Salsa. It's a salsa with it's just Mrs. Renfro's. And you put it on the tacos. And I remember when we first started eating it, we wouldn't eat very much out of the jar, but like we go through like a jar a week now. I mean, it is hot. It will clear your sinuses. If you've got any kind of infection, just the odor of it will just kind of...
We'll clear it up for you?
It'll clear it up for you, bro.
And they called it a jail burrito.
A jail burrito.
Dude, man, first of all, I think the ingenuity of figuring out how to quote unquote cook something in there would be way more fascinating to me. Like, it seems like inmates are pretty intuitive. Like when you're it's just like what's happening right now. When you're inmates or when you're forced into a situation where you have to adapt, it seems like you're going to adapt.
Oh yeah, like contraband gets into the facilities, around the country. I mean, that's no secret. Inmates find a way to communicate. I tell you what, I learned a lot working there, and probably the number one thing I learned, I thought I was all that in a bag of chips when I became a cop, and I was what I call a baby cop out of the brandy wrapper. I was like, dun, 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 I'm going to save the world. And when I went in there, I struggled the first year and a half I worked in the jail. I was having conflict with inmates. I had this old, he called himself a tunnel rat because he was a Marine Corps sergeant, and he was in Vietnam, and he was constantly in my ass. Like, hey, Vinny, you can't do that. You got to make sure you.
That's where they hide guns. Sorry, go ahead.
No. And he really taught me what it takes to, be a good, effective officer in the field. And I learned really quickly that, the inmates always outnumber the guards that are there, and you got to be, there's a couple things you got to do. The respect that you gain in there is the respect you gain, whether you're a cop or you're an inmate. If you say you're going to do something, you better do it.
Right.
Like, you promise somebody something, hey, I'm going to bring you back an envelope for for your family or whatever. You got to follow through. But the one thing that I'm just going back to what you said is super ingenious. Some of the stuff that I saw while working there, just the things that people come up with. They have 24 hours a day. They're just, thinking, coming up with stuff because they got to occupy themselves and stay mentally sound,
Wow. What's the most creative, like other than the jail burrito, that you've implemented into your own life? What is the most creative thing that you think you've, off the top of your head, that you like, how did you create this or do this?
So I'll tell you. So this is kind of self-deprecating in a way, and I'll share this story. So when I was a young officer, we have visitation. So we used to do contact visits. It's been 18 years since I worked in the jail. So I don't know. I honestly don't know if they still do any form of contact visits. But when I was there, they did. And we would walk down. We'd go to the module. You'd be the visitation officer. You pick up the people. You walk them down, and they'd meet the people in the visitation room. Well, these guys were amazing. So the Jolly Ranchers that they would get from canteen commissary, they would get the hot water, and they would warm it up. And they would heat up the red and the green Jolly Ranchers, and they would actually mold them into roses to give to their girlfriends when they went to visitation.
Whoa.
And I'm talking like perfectly sculpted roses. And, these girls would come into the jail and they'd be dressed up like short skirts, wanting to see their guy. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, I'm in this visitation room, and it ran past my mind. I'm like, here I am. I own my own house. I have car insurance, and I have a steady job.
You got a phone bill that you pay.
And I'm like, what's wrong with me?
Why can't I get these honeys coming in?
Yeah, what's going on here? And so, but I thought that was amazing, or they do soap carvings, and a lot of people that are in jail,
soap carvings. Interesting.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
They do soap carvings. They'd make some of the people in there were the greatest artists that you've ever seen, and, I would say 95% of the people that we had inside the facility, they were good people. They just made a bad decision at some point in their life. There's those that, I'm like, holy cow, they're pretty scary. But most of the people, man, they're just down on their luck. They've made some poor decisions, and but their creativity, man, if they could just focus that, it's amazing to see what ingenuity that comes from people.
That's how I feel about some comedians too. It's like, you guys are so smart and you're so funny. How are you not better at this? Like, it's crazy how some people just either can't figure it out, don't want to figure it out. I don't know what it is, but it seems like if they could just focus themselves a little bit more, that would be a pretty damn good outlet for them.
Yeah, I've learned. I mean, you've been in this business probably, I think, a little bit longer than me, but it's not always the most talented people that become the most successful. It's the people that are putting in the constant work at it. They're constantly grinding at it, and I think that's true about most every profession. I mean, you have those people who get great opportunity and explodes for them, but the majority of people who are really successful, they just constantly grinding.
Yeah.
So
the funniest doesn't always win,
Right. They don't. And
which is a real bummer, because sometimes there's some damn funny people that I'm like, yo, well, you should be famous. I mean, you look back at people like a Troy Baxley or, like a Doug. I mean, Doug Stanhope is a big name, but boy, did it take him a long time to get there. And it could have been faster if he played the game,
Right.
I don't know.
Right. And it's constantly evolving. Back in the day, I was told when I first got into comedy, even before we started getting into the comedy world, which I started in 2007, in the 80s, late 90s, you'd go on the Late Show, that would make it for everybody. And now, you got to be on all the social media platforms. You've got to have a website. You've got to be grinding at every possible opportunity. The networking stuff is just what's huge. And you know that better than anybody.
Yep.
I mean, I've done your show in Boulder many times, the Boulder Comedy Show. I just did it like a week and a half ago. You just got to take every opportunity that comes along, because you don't know who you're going to meet, and you don't know who. And I'll be honest with you, there's some guys like Officer Daniels and some of the people that I'm affiliated with now, Deputy Hookem, Deputy Bookham, they're Mike the Cop, Officer Brandy, Oh No, It's the Popo, all these people who are law enforcement related comedians and or social activists. trying to bridge the gap between law enforcement and the community that have really helped me. And it's just, if I wouldn't be networking and reached out to some of these people, I wouldn't honestly be what I'm doing right now. So,
Interesting.
yeah.
So it really is that asking people and finding people that have common interests as you and just like, hey, do you want to partner up on a thing?
Yeah, it's like what you do all the time. I mean, you
I
partnered
have
up
a
with all
hard time
these.
asking for help though.
Well, I don't necessarily like. It was a surprise to me. Like one of the first people I ever reached out to was Officer Daniels, and I just basically sent him an email. And the next thing you know, he's got this huge following online, like I don't know, over 2 million people on Facebook.
Explain
And
for those who don't know who Officer Daniels is. He's an online personality, kind of like
he
a
is,
YouTube star who is an actual law enforcement agent, correct?
well, he was a law
Officer.
enforcement officer, but his comedy took off with sketch comedy online and the influencer platform, that he doesn't have to do that anymore.
Nice.
And it's great because he's such a supporter of law enforcement and also bridging that gap with the community. So he uses his efforts for good things. And I sent him an email one day. I was like, hey, man, I'd love to collab. I didn't necessarily ask him, hey, can you help me out? And next thing you know, he showed up at my show. We kind of clicked. And, there was nobody in this. There's this group that I'm part of now called Humanize the Badge, HTB. And it's a collective of cops from around the country who help support this nonprofit that tries to benefit the community. So they send officers that are part of this group to different places during the year to do projects. Like we went to Vegas and we helped out after the Mandalay Bay thing. We helped the police wives there raise money for a nonprofit, and then we went and visited the kids who were incarcerated, and that was a sobering thing. I was with AJ,
Like young kids, like
Yep.
like teens,
Juvenile,
like
juveniles,
wow.
yeah. And there's this Columbus cop. His name is AJ. He goes by Oh No, It's the Popo online,
Okay.
and they also call him Dancing Cop. He's amazing. So he is out in the community. He's doing foot chases with people like for fun, see who's faster, just breaking down all those barriers. And we were out there and we were talking to these kids in the I guess it would be Clark County Juvenile Detention Center, and it was amazing.
In Las Vegas?
In Las Vegas, yeah.
Okay.
And it's Clark County, right? I'm pretty sure.
I'm pretty sure it is too, which is funny
Yeah.
that I'm like, oh, Clark County? I've heard of that one.
And so it was amazing. Most of the kids that we talked to were all there on gun charges, which just blew my
Whoa.
mind because they were between 14 and 17 and whatever, right? And I was just like, wow. And the trust level that they had between them and law enforcement, you could tell that was very suspicious.
Right.
And it was amazing. So it was not only eye-opening for me, but by the end of the time, we were joking around with these kids, and they're like, man, we can't believe you guys are actually cops because we've never had anybody that's a cop
Right.
talk to us in this way. And, that's one of the things, that's why I do the stand-up that I talk about, is because I believe that there shouldn't be such a divide. I know there's bad cops out there, but the majority of the cops are good people, and we don't want those cops around either. And
how's that tension work? Like when good cops know that there's bad cops in the precinct or in the office, like what's that tension like?
Well, where I work, I think I'm very lucky where we really don't have those officers working for us. Sometimes cops will make a bad decision at one point in time in their career, and it's a pretty costly decision, and that'll cost it for them. But I think it has to do with the culture of the agency and what that highest echelon in the department really pushes down. And now with body cameras and stuff today, I think it's the best thing in the world. I'm a huge advocate for body cameras, and those people who are doing nefarious things or things they shouldn't do, they're going to be weeded out very quickly in today's society. So I think that's good, and but none of the cops that are good people just trying to raise or work for their paycheck to support their families, none of them want to be part of that. They don't want to lose their job. They don't want to do bad stuff. And,
Right.
I don't think, some people I've heard allude to, there's, the thin blue line. Well, we use that as an acronym to say, or not an acronym, but a way to say, we're that first line of defense in the community, which I believe we are. When people call for help, they call us.
You first. Absolutely.
But I've heard it also referred to as, this code of silence. And it's like, that doesn't exist where I work. I'm not saying it doesn't in other places, and it shouldn't. But I think as, just like anything else, as time has gone by and it's progressed, law enforcement has become more and more and more and more professional. and there's less and less and less acceptance of any of those deviant things like the excessive use of force or any of that stuff, racism. I'm not stupid. That does exist in our country in certain areas and certain things. And I'll give you an example though. I get frustrated with some of the things I see because there's a lot of sensationalism on TV and online, and people like
especially online. Oh yeah,
cut snippets of an officer doing something in the moment, and they show the worst part of it, but they don't necessarily show what led up to that all the way or everything that had preceded it. And that's not really a fair shake, and that happened to my buddy, which I know he's very okay with it because he got accused of being very over excessive force and, oh no, it's the Popo AJ in Columbus. And they only released a snippet of what happened, but then the chief and the administration, they were really good. They released the whole video and they were able to show exactly what was going on. And I think that's really good. So I think we have to get ahead of those curves sometimes, but I also agree with the citizens. If they see something that's not right, citizens have the right to film and do all that stuff in order, it's part of the Constitution. You have the right, if you're in a public space, you want to break out your phone and you want to record. I mean, you have the right to do that. There's laws prohibiting us from stopping that happening. But, I respectfully ask, the community at the same time, while we're trying to deal with the situation, give us a little bit of room so that, we don't know who's coming up behind us. Just like if you're out hanging out at night with some people and somebody random walks up on you, you're going to be like, whoa.
You're going to be aware of it. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Now, you think a lot of these changes have come likely from the body camera movement?
I think they've come from that in part, but I also think that society's expectations of what they expect of their law enforcement people, whether the sheriff's office, police department, whatever, they're higher expectation now. And the agencies have to reflect those community standards. And I think people just expect to be treated. We have to remember, whatever law enforcement agency you're working for, it's a customer service it's a customer service based business. The only difference with that is and I'm glad you're letting me be on your show tonight. Just we're talking about all kinds of stuff. The one thing I would ask and I try to share with people is like, nobody ever called the things that law enforcement people, men and women, are exposed to every day are the negative. And nobody calls the cops. They call people when people are getting out of control at parties and people are fighting and all that stuff. But nobody calls the cops and says, oh my God, guess what? It's our 50th anniversary, 9/11 anniversary. Yes, it's a 50th anniversary. Send the cops over. We got cake and ice cream. We're going to have a little shindig here.
No one wants to party with them.
No, nobody does, right? But at the same time, after year of seeing the negative, and here's what I'm talking about, and I'll get real scientific on you. There's a guy by the name of Dr. Kevin Gilmartin, and he does a lot of stuff with law enforcement officers, and he does a lot of things called the emotional survival for police officers. Okay. And I will be very open about this, and I am online. My mental health, and you probably didn't even know this, Brent. Maybe you did. I don't know if I shared it with you, but if you heard me talk about it on stage, my mental health got really bad in 2008. I lost a kid in the field when I was off duty and transitioned to on duty right away. And that one incident, after being a cop for 10 years at that point, really hit home with me. It really jacked with my mental health. And I really had to get serious about doing something positive to find an outlet for my mental health. And that's where comedy has come in for me. It's an outlet where I take the things that I see, I twist them, I joke about them. But I'm not a cop. If people ask me when I'm traveling, what do you do for a living? I always tell people first, I'm a comic.
Yeah.
And it really breaks down the barrier because it was, oh, you're a comedian? That's awesome. And then as I get into their world and I've made it past them and build some credibility with them, then I'll usually tell them I'm a cop. But by that time, they're like, hey, this guy's okay.
Because they already like you. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But if I lead with I'm a cop, right away it becomes like, oh, my God, this guy, But,
watch what I say.
Watch what I say.
Interesting. So you had it was lost a kid in the field, as in like one of your teammates, or you were trying to go save someone and lost him. Like we don't need to get into huge details on that, but
so 9 News put out a little special about it. I lost a kid in the field. I tried to save him, and I was unsuccessful.
Gotcha.
And it really
a suicide thing.
No, it wasn't a suicide thing. It was an accident, a car accident.
Gotcha.
And it was a young teenager, and we worked on them for a long time. I was the only one there
I
to begin
understand.
with. It was some crazy stuff. And then, and so that really messed with my brain. And it wasn't just that one incident. It was a lot of I hadn't been taking care of my mental health for a long period of time. I was that guy who would show up. I'd work every single day, every day possible. And my bosses, even the sheriff at one point in time, he pulled me aside. He's like, "Hey man, you're going to burn out." And I'm like, "What are you talking about? I'm the go-to, I'm ready to go, whatever you need." He's like, "Yeah, you're the most at risk for burning out." And that's the thing. It's not the lazy cops who burn out. It's the ones who are really trying to do good and like
Who care
working a
too
lot.
much.
Yeah. And they don't deal with their mental health, which then causes anxiety. And, you start getting, you push people away, which can end up being your wife, your kids, and high rate of divorce, alcoholism, substance abuse, all these things that occur in the law enforcement field, just like for anybody else in this world. And I don't know if you know the statistic, Brent, but we lose 3 times the amount of cops every year to their own hand than we do in the line of duty deaths.
Wow.
Like
Wow.
I think New York itself is up to either 9 or 10 already this year. This year.
Good Lord. So basically what you're saying is that you weren't, and most cops aren't, just like most people aren't, obviously, but you weren't taking a break. When you went home from work, you were still in work mode. And then you would go to work that next day, and you like basically for 10 years didn't have an outlet that kind of let you release and let you live and breathe and sleep well.
No, I kind of, but not really. Let me just break it down a little more visual for you. So imagine you have a chalice, or this large cup, and when you're a brand new cop, that chalice is empty. You can see a lot, you can take a lot in, but if you're not emptying a little bit of that out through, taking time off to recoup and doing things other than being a cop, and that's you're the one thing you are right about is I was always in that mode of self-identifying, like whether I was on duty or off duty, I was like, I'm a cop. That was my primary identity. And that's where a lot of cops end up getting in trouble too, is because when somebody says something to them negative or gets aggressive with them in the field, if they only self-identify as a cop and they don't identify as I'm working as a cop and I am Vinnie Montez, the person, that's when they run into trouble, because they'll, instead of it being contempt of the situation, it becomes contempt of the cop because they can't disassociate the two different personalities. And then that's what gets them in trouble, because they're not responding as just their work self. They're responding as the only identity that they identify with. And so it sounds maybe a little bit weird on your side. I mean, I don't know how you're interpreting that, but it's a very real thing. And Dr. Kevin Gilmartin talks about that. It's, every action has an opposite and equal reaction. So when you're at work, firefighters are real good about this, and I'm not talking smack about firefighters. Calm down, hose draggers. Relax.
That's like how the Army talks shit about the Air Force.
Yeah. The firefighters that are watching this right now, lean back in your, your lazy boy and pick up your remote control. You're gonna play a little bit of something, because they got the best setups at the firehouses. But when you, if it's this analogy, if you take a cop and you look at like this baseline, like if this is normal right here for day to day, when they're at work, it's crisis and then come back down. Sometimes it's crisis and then it turns out to be nothing, and then they go back down here, but all that adrenaline's been released, and up and down, up and down. It's like taking a brand new car out and like hitting the gas, coming up to a red light, slamming on the brakes. It turns green, going fast. Well, when you have all that going on, when you go off duty, you dip down below the average, and it takes a long time for you to come back up even to the baseline. And what that happens is, like, cops get home and they're like, and I'm guilty of this, even sometimes to this day, where I'll get home and I'll be like, they'll be like, what do you want to go do? What do you want to go eat? I'm like, I don't care. Well, what do you want to do? I don't care, whatever. And I don't want to make any more decisions. I don't want to, have to choose anything. I've been doing all that all day.
Right.
And imagine a person that is doing that comes home and the wife has been living a normal, they're not up and down, or the husband's not been up and down, and this law enforcement officer comes home and they're trying to engage them in their relationship, but that cop is like, I'm good. I don't, I just want to sit here and veg in front of the TV. That's what causes those issues. And if you're not actively pushing yourself to get out, yet comedy has brought me out of that. It's like, if you're going to learn to be good, you got to be on stage, you got to be out. And
Yep.
quickly, it brings me up. And of course, I chose something else that gives us a rush, right? Comedy gives us a huge rush.
Instant too, just like
It's
being a cop. Like it's
right.
here now.
Yeah, and once you've done it, and once you get good at it, you're like, oh, I love this. I don't want to do anything else, right?
Right. It is an addiction. I always tell anyone who's getting into comedy, I'm like, it's the best, worst life decision you could ever make.
Right, right. I mean,
Because,
Go ahead.
well, I was just saying, because it's like, it's brutal because, like, it is the most fun you can ever have. It's the most immediate reaction. It's the most, I'm the best right in this moment. No one can touch me. And then tomorrow, it's, what happened? I am awful. What? And then you get no's from on your pitch, and it's just it's such a violent up and down game that it's comparable to this, different, but you really do have to take a time to just not do it and to go but you can't just sit on the couch and veg. I think you do have to find, that's why I play golf a lot.
Yeah.
It's kind of like it's my way of just, I'm doing something, but I'm not disconnecting completely from life and making any choices.
Oh yeah, 100%. And now I feel like I got to find a third outlet for the cop and the comedy.
Start playing golf with me.
I'm terrible at golf. One of the undersheriff who retired where I work, he's like, they paid for us to do this thing for the homeless shelter, and I got selected, and I was teeing off, and literally I hit the ball, and it went straight backwards, like not even slow, just straight backwards.
It defied the laws of physics.
Yeah, and he's like, I don't know what to say how you actually made that happen. So I'm the worst golfer, dude.
I one time hit a ball and it cut so far to the right. I didn't even again, it's like, I don't know if they can capture this, then, scientists will be able to do some sort of travel with the amount of gravity I just defied on this golf ball.
Yeah.
So you found comedy then, and how long do you think it took? Because this must have been about a year after you had started comedy. So you kind of knew that, because I think you said 2007 is when you started, and this kind of happened around 2008.
Yep. Yeah.
And then so about how long do you think it took for you to, now, did you consciously make this move? Did you consciously, I need to get out of my head, or did it slowly through, be it therapy or self-exploration or meditation, whatever? How did that kind of come about?
So I knew what I wanted to do. I wanted to do comedy, but that's like saying I want to become a brain surgeon tomorrow, right?
Right.
You have to kind of figure out, how does it work? How do you do it? And my first time was through the new talent program at Comedy Works, and Deacon Gray, and my first 2 minutes there. And that was in 2007, June of 2007. So I kind of dabbled in it, but I had no idea exactly what do you do, how do you do it. And then, things kind of happen for a reason. I was starting to get serious about it. I think I would say I really got serious in 2009.
Okay.
And I was trying to do more and more. I grew up going to Squire's Lounge, which I'm sure you did many a time. I'm probably with you. Getting kicked in the teeth there pretty much every
brutal.
time. Brutal. But that serves me well. Just a tangent here real quick. I did a show 2 weeks ago in just outside of Philadelphia, and it was this large event for a cop who had cancer and one that had passed away. And there was literally like 300 or 400 people in this room, packed audience, just great show. And I'm up there, and there's this firefighter that he's the only one there, and I hate to say this, but it's the truth. Anybody who's there knows this. He's sitting right up front, and he's screaming out like probably every other joke. I love you, Vinny. And
God.
Trying to finish punchlines, and he was so happy to be there. And we both know we can only go at that guy so much before it becomes bad for the audience. But I was able to plow right over him and still keep it really good for the rest of the audience. But I attribute that to doing, Kinga's and Squire's Lounge and all the other open mics in Denver coming
brutal
up.
mics, because there's a difference between an open mic and a brutal mic.
Right.
And
Squire's was a brutal mic.
Brutal mic. It was, just to kind of put this into perspective for everyone listening, it was one of those mics where they didn't really turn off the lights. I mean, the people were there for they were technically there for comedy, but they didn't give a shit about, if they didn't know who you were or you couldn't figure out how to talk to them to get their attention in like 15 seconds or less, they discounted you and then talked loudly while you were trying to do your show. The only time I won the Squire tab was when I made fun of a homeless dude for my entire set. That was because that's the kind of stuff that they wanted. And yet, looking back at it, like in the moment, we're like, this blows. I don't ever want to do this. Why am I choosing to do this? Why am I getting here at 10 and going up at 1 for this horrible set? But as a professional comic now, I thank God I have that skill. Because then, just like in your case, you know how to handle it in an important show, in an important moment. And that's so crucial.
I mean, I'm glad you got to win the tab. I never won anything in an open mic. I got ridiculed when I started talking about being a cop at Squires Lounge.
Oh, I bet they hated it.
I remember people screaming from the bar like, "Get the fuck off stage!" I mean, I'm sure I think this happened to one of the other comedians that said too. But like Denver PD Inc. came in at one point and like took some dude outside. I don't know if to arrest him or what, but it was just like. And it was just nonstop talk, and the guys that were running the mic, remind me,
Greg Baumhauer
and those guys, they wouldn't put you up if you were like the unknown like me. You would wait, just like you said, you would wait all night to get that 3 or 4 minutes on stage
of brutal stage time.
Yeah, a brutal stage time to get kicked in the teeth. And I was like, man, am I ever going to make anything of this? And so fast forward to 2011. I wasn't getting a lot of time on stage. You know how that goes. You have to work for it. You have to go out there and get it. But I had a full-time job. And so a couple of the guys for the state FOP, Fraternal Order of Police, they came to me. There was a sergeant in Longmont at the time. His name was Chris Schmad, and he still works there. He's a great dude. He had to have a transplant, a liver. And they're like, hey, man, you're doing that comedy stuff. And I only had no kidding, dude. I had a tight 7 to tight 8 in the back.
You had a showcase set.
I had a showcase set. And they're like, hey, can you do this show? And I'd been DJing since I was 16 years old. So I had all this gear. And I was like, yeah, we could do it together. Because, I was going to take this opportunity to get stage time. So we were able to put this show together. And it was me, Troy Walker, Elliot Woolsey, John Christ. And I'm probably forgetting one person that was on that show.
That's a hell of a lineup right there.
Dude, I headlined.
You headlined? You went after everybody? What's the matter with you? I mean, I understand they're your people, but wow.
I did. I came up there, and I did longer than 7 or 8 minutes, but it was like a shit show. I'm spacing out jokes. I'm working the crowd. I had no time in the bank. It's like,
oh man.
I mean, that was tight. And I had stuff that kind of worked. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah.
But
how did you do? Did it did it go over well?
Dude, I recorded it, and I look back at it now, and I'm like, why?
I bet you hate it now.
Oh my god, dude, it was terrible.
But was it okay for the situation you put yourself in? Because here's my thing. I applaud that completely. I have definitely one thing. Hippie Man John Novosad told me when I was young was if I ever get the opportunity to close a show, I'm going to close a show. If I'm co-headlining and I can go last, I want to go last. And so I've put myself into positions like that several times where I'm like, this is I don't know why I'm doing this, but it's for that experience. It's that theory. You can only get better if you're playing with people better than you.
Oh yeah. And if you don't ever try to push yourself to try that new material, to do that 20 minutes, that 30 minutes, 45, an hour plus, like the first time I did an hour and it was a killer show.
Yeah.
Dude, I remember just taking a moment behind stage and being like, oh my God, I can't believe I did this. What is going on? This is crazy. And it's unbelievable feeling, because coming up through the ranks, that is not an easy feat to do. Mm-hmm. And to be out there and command the stage and just be completely in control.
Yep.
I equate it to being a cop. When you first come out there being a cop, you think like I did. I thought I knew what I was doing, and you really don't. You really have to get that experience, and get that timing. There are some people, we know them, who the moment they walk out on stage in their first couple of years, you're like, are you shitting me? I mean, they're that good, right?
Yeah.
And
it's so frustrating sometimes.
because they're blessed just with that talent and that timing and the ability to just come up with stuff on the moment.
I say
don't
that
have
about Mike Hammock. Mike Hammock has got it, and it's not a priority for him.
Right.
And it's real frustrating because damn, he's good. He's won the contest 2 or 3 times, and it's like he likes comedy, but it's not his priority.
Yeah, and some people it's not, and some people are content coming out that got the talent and doing a little bit of this and that.
Yeah.
I just want to continue to push and get bigger and bigger and bigger. I'm doing that physically, but I just like to see my comedy. Oh shit!
Oh boy!
I just hope I don't get this corona, man. That's all I'm worried about.
Dude, I mean, it might help you lose some weight. Although I hear it's all. Here's what's hilarious to me about how everyone's buying toilet paper is it's not the shits, it's fever, and I'm like, why do you need toilet paper?
I know, man. Like
this isn't what you need. You need like hydration, is what you'll need. Some Pedialyte.
Yeah, I don't understand the toilet paper thing, and I don't, man. It pisses me off though because right now, we didn't run out and buy a lot of toilet paper, so our normal supply, we buy is starting, get kind of low, and you can't get it anywhere,
No.
And then I hear there's fist fights and stuff over toilet paper and stuff, and I'm like, man.
Dude, they're rationing it at Costco. You got it. So I went there today they opened at 10. I got there at like 10:30. And there was a line, and it's like if you're getting water or toilet paper, it's this line, and everyone else shopping is this line. And I'm like, what the heck? Like, this isn't. Also, too, like they're buying stuff as if the power grid's gonna shut down. Like, we're not. It's a virus. Like, it's not gonna shut down our entire world. The internet's still gonna go. Cars are still gonna start. Like it's kind of crazy.
It is.
So.
But that's the thing is like, this is I got to tell you, this is unprecedented. We're taking actions where I work to make sure that we've got people, we're not exposing the officers, the first responders, that are going out, making contact with people. We're doing everything we can to keep that first line of defense safe. But it is a scary thing because, we only have a limited staff like any other agency does. And, we got some people that are like me who are in that at-risk category just because, I don't have great lungs. And, that's kind of a little bit scary. And then, like my mom, she's 74.
Right.
And
prime candidate for it. And you don't want to get it. And even if it doesn't affect you very much, it could affect her.
Sure. And so I worry about that too. And I think
even though you don't live at home with your mom. I do want to point that out. You do not live at home.
She's like, mijo, parece que, listen, don't be coming over and touching me, okay? Porque I don't want to get the corona. It's kind of similar to the Llorona. If you don't know what the Llorona is in Mexican culture,
I don't.
Look that up. Yeah, it's a lady who, it's a bad lady. So
now I want to look this up. How do I spell it?
I think it's Llyyorna. La Llorona.
I can't wait.
Llorona.
It says Monster Girl's Secret. Okay. Interesting.
Type in Mexican Llorona.
Okay.
Try Yorr.
Whoa, she kind of looks like an anime chick.
Oh, really?
Maybe I'm looking. Maybe this is just my Google history. It's like, yeah, I know what you want.
I don't know what you're into, but
interesting. Okay. Now I will say this because it is interesting about being a cop and I did write some questions down because we had talked about how there seems to be like a renaissance almost of how the interaction is between the public and the police, and it is it's weird because online and on the news they just love talking smack about cops and like here's where a cop did wrong and stuff like that, and so what it kind of brings me back to what you're doing with your career in comedy, and what Officer Dan is doing and those guys is you're building these community relationships. How important do you think it is to not only your career, but what you're doing for police in general? Like how the public views the police on a regular basis based off of what you are doing with your videos and your comedy.
Well, I think there's a bunch of different levels, but the first one that comes to mind is when you're open about the issues that you personally struggle with. A lot of people don't want to talk, especially in law enforcement, about, I'm struggling with my mental health, or I'm not doing well in that area. I mean, in the agency I work with, that I work for right now, without even hesitating, I can name 6 cops right now that have taken their own lives.
Wow.
And
God.
without even hesitating, there's probably a dozen or more.
That's nuts.
But in this field, the persona and the way it's perceived is you got to be tough,
Yep.
and you got to. But that's
man
not,
up, man through it. You gotta work. Yeah.
And you don't want to talk about your weaknesses because you don't want your colleagues to think that you're not capable of handling it. And that kind of mentality, that's kind of the way it was when I got into law enforcement. I got hired in 98, and I was a cadet from 90 to 98.
Now let's talk about that real quick. You started when
Yeah.
you were 16, right?
14.
14 years old. You're like, I want to do this, and you started in the cadet program.
Yeah, the official name is Explorers, but we call them cadets where I work. And they're young men and women between the ages. I had to actually start in a smaller agency because they wouldn't take us at the agency I work now until I was 16. So I just had to bounce over to this agency once I turned 16. But it's young men and women who have a desire to see what law enforcement's like. They ride with officers. They wear a uniform. They're not a cop in any way, shape, or form.
Sure.
But they get trained and taught about the things that you do in law enforcement in order to prep them. No different than, like the military schools would prep people to go to the Air Force Academy or
Right.
That kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So it was a great way to see what I was going to get to do. And I actually became a 911 dispatcher at 18 before I became a cop at 21.
Is that the youngest you have to be a cop is 21?
21 in the state of Colorado. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Gotcha.
I think there are other states where you can be a younger, but I just don't know what those are off the top of my head. But I think I totally lost. What were we talking about?
Cadets and the program and switching over.
So when you're young and you're getting yourself prepared for this, like I had even started seeing things like when I was really young. Like I remember the first dead body I ever rolled onto, and I don't want to get too dark.
How old were you?
I want to say I was 16, no older than 17.
Wow.
And, I can remember to this day there was this accident. This car had rolled off the side of the road. It had rolled. There was a baby in the car. It got ejected. The baby was fine, but the mom was not. She died right there. And I remember seeing that. And, the thing about it is like I try to tell our young cadets now, don't see stuff if you don't have to, because that big chalice that I was talking about earlier, it starts to take that collateral damage and starts to get filled up. And there's a limit. There's a reason why, military people, it's more of an acute thing where they go into combat where it's really, really, really intense for a shorter period of time, maybe one combat tour. I don't know how long that is, 6 months or whatever. But for cops, it could be an acute situation like an officer-involved shooting, but it can also be a career of year after year after year of seeing things and tasting things, smelling. That trauma occurs over a longer period of time, but nonetheless, it's trauma.
Sure.
And then eventually you start seeing that. So you don't want to be seen as weak. And I think now law enforcement is really shifting gears and realizing, okay, whoa, we've got to be a lot better about being more open about our own mental health. And I tell this to people all the time. Matter of fact, I've taught trainings for our agency and talked about my own personal issues to let people know it's okay that code of silence, not because we're trying to protect people from getting in trouble,
Right.
but that code of silence of being like, I'm good. You good? Yeah, I'm good. That whole thing needs to go away. We need to be open about the things that bother us. We need to build a culture where it's okay to say, man, I'm not doing okay. I don't mean to sound cliche, but it's okay to not be okay.
Right.
And if you're a cop that's struggling with mental health, I would rather you be honest about that. Reach out to somebody left or right. You don't have to go public with it, but you need to reach out to somebody, because I know there's a lot of cops that have held that stuff internally until it's to the point where they are suicidal or they are on the verge of making a bad decision in their life,
That
which is
fucks
going to
your
be
career up.
catastrophic.
Right.
Yes.
Right. And honestly, hearing all this makes me think that this would lead to what we were getting into. This would being more open about your feelings would lead to better community relations, because then we wouldn't see cops as this closed off. You're you're a wall because you're a police officer, and I'm going to hold all this back, and you're holding, like you're literally guarded physically. You have bulletproof vests on and stuff like that, but but emotionally, it doesn't have to be that way, and that might change how. It's going to take time, but the more cops can put to bed this manly, I'm fine, I think that'll help. I mean, it'll probably just help everything.
Right, and that's just one small part of it. But cops, whether you're in the moment talking about something about that kind of stuff, or the reason they call it humanize the badge is every law enforcement officer out there, federal, state, local, township, municipality, they're all the same kind of people. They're just people. Right. And they wake up in the morning with the requirements to pay bills, feed mouths for the kids that they have, deal with marital issues just like everybody else, work, and all the things that go on with work. Maybe they're not getting along with somebody, maybe somebody's being, rough with them or whatever, like in the context of it's not a good work environment for them. Maybe they saw a call last night. It's a bigger thing. And I just want people to know that, the law enforcement officers that I work with, they're no different than me. And I think not to digress a little bit, but I think I've been I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, but I'm really proud of the fact that I started my comedy career in Denver at Comedy Works. Yeah. And I came up with people like you and the people that I mentioned earlier, Troy Walker, Elliot Woolsey, and on and on and on, John Chris, because you guys got to be around a cop. And I would never be cop-ish when I was in that. And I know people were smoking marijuana and all that. And I know people, but I didn't get involved in people's stuff like that. I wasn't there for that. I was there to do comedy.
Right. You're a comedian when you're around us.
Yes.
You're a cop when you have a badge on and you're in a cop car.
Right. But I didn't involve myself. You know this. I never was out smoking weed or doing any of that stupid stuff from my perspective. Like, I know everybody else has the right to go do what they're going to do, but I didn't involve myself on that. And most cops are just like me. They're just going to do their thing. When they're working, they're working. The only time they're going to sprint into action off duty is when somebody's on the verge of there's a life-threatening situation. You know what I mean? We got to turn it off. We can't be cops 24/7, and we're just like every other person. And, I have a lot of respect for the comedians that I grew up with, like yourself here in the Denver community, because quite frankly, they're some of the most talented people who, not to be sentimental, but probably I could say part of the contribution that they made to me in the Denver comedy scene was keeping me sane and not getting to that point where my mental health got so bad that it crossed that line.
I don't think we could handle another death in our scene. To be honest, thank God that didn't happen with you. So then moving on then to what we were saying about how do you feel like what you're doing and your product and your projects and these comics around you, how do you feel like that's improving the relationships between, because like I love those videos where you see cops pulling over and throwing the football, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like that kind of stuff. Like, we need more of these, because I've had those moments. We've had good moments with cops and they don't get glorified. It's only the villainy that gets put out there.
Yeah, I'm getting worse about this, and I mean it's not a bad thing, but like I mess with people at work a lot, like citizens. Like I'll joke with them a lot, and I'll like put it out there and like kind of catch them off guard. And I like that about me, because like I think that it shows where I'm really at mentally. Like I'm willing to be vulnerable and joke about it, and I think it's a good thing. But I also think that going back to it, people seeing that I'm open about it, it encourages other people to be more open in law enforcement. And the more and more open we get, and that we're able to talk about the things that bother us, the more it creates communication. And then the other part about it is, like, I could tell you right now, and I don't think Elliot would get mad at me for saying this, but our friendship, Elliot Woolsey and I, and he's been through some stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
But because of our relationship, I don't think he sees law enforcement the way he would see it today had we not been involved together.
I would agree
And
with that. Yeah, same
and
here. For my view, I've had run-ins where I'm like, this sucks, but this could have been way worse, and this guy's just doing his job, and I'm fine with this. You
and
know?
so I think I, I think it's good. And there's some comical stuff that's happened. Like, Jordan, the guy that runs the door at the works.
Yeah.
He came up to me one day and he told me, he's like, "Hey, bro, I was just like walking down the street. These two cops like came up to me and they're like asking me questions. And they're like, 'Where do you work?' And he told them. And then they're like, 'Do you know Vinnie Montez?' And he's like, 'Yeah, I know Vinnie Montez.' And he's like, blah, blah. And they're like, 'All right, dude, you're good. Have a good one. Peace out.'" And so, there's been some good that's come from, my presence in the Denver comedy scene. Let me tell you right.
Oh man, yes, there has. You're that one name that I'll never drop unless I absolutely
Hey,
have
listen,
to, and then I'm like, I still don't know if I'm gonna do it.
if you drop my name, dude, it could come out bad. Just as good as it could come out good, it could come out bad too.
No, I hate that guy. Yeah, bad call, bad name to
I'll
drop.
be like, let's see, charge 1, charge 2, charge 3.
We're gonna get you on all of these.
No, there's been some times too when I've been at the works where I'm like, oh my god, am I gonna have to get involved here? I'll never forget Jeff Fisher. We were at the South Club tonight, and
Jeff Fisher is a very large man with a very deep and loud voice, and he is heard when Jeff is pissed, people hide. They scurry like mice.
And he's a very confident man. I will tell you right now.
Yes, he is.
So somebody was on stage, and there was a bachelor party going on inside the works, and they yelled out like Jose or something. And every time the comedian on stage would say a punchline, they yell out this name. And then this dude stands up because he's drunk out of his mind, and they think they're calling him out because his name is whatever name they're screaming
or whatever. Yeah.
And so the fourth time they did that, he stands up. He's like, "What, dude? What are you gonna do?" And I'm like, "Oh shit, this is about to get real." And we're sitting in the booths in the back. And finally, Jeff and a couple of the other people come out there, and they're like, "Sir, you got to go." They're trying to get him out of there. And as they're walking back right where the kitchen is and meets the hallway right before you walk out the main door, you hear Jeff, "Don't you touch me, you son of a bitch." And like he goes off, and I'm like, oh my, and you can hear this like scuffle going on.
Oh, I'm sure.
And I'm kind of like, is everything okay? Am I going to have to get involved in this?
Oh boy.
And it worked out, but I was like, wow, but I'll tell you what, man, bottom line, I think the things that I'm involved in right now, the people that I'm involved in, and I'm including people like you and the other people that I associate with in comedy, we're making a difference. Yeah. Even the people who are going to watch this tonight, they're going to take away something from it that they're like, wow, I never even thought about that stuff. This dude's making jail burritos. He's getting, he's eating it on stage at the Squire.
He's a real person.
Yep.
Cops are real people. Yeah. So, Vinny, tell people kind of what you're doing now. We're going to jump ahead to that, and then we'll come back and talk about your dry bar special. But what you've kind of done is you've taken this audience that you kind of already have from being in the police force and in law enforcement, and tell us what you're doing.
So I perform primarily, not exclusively for sure, but primarily I perform for law enforcement groups around the country. Like in the last year, just off the top of my head, New Mexico Gang Task Force Conference, Minnesota Law Enforcement Explorer Conference, National Latino Police Officers Association, and on and on and on of all these law enforcement groups who come together for whatever they're training about, or maybe they're having a conference. And I come in there and I lighten the load at the end or in the middle of the conference, where I just provide comedy that these people can all relate to,
because they're in your same field,
right? And like the stuff that I do at the comedy club is different than what I do for them, because I'm able to use the vernacular of what they're used to. Like if I said, "Hey man, Brent, how did you like your FTO?" You'd be like,
"What's up?"
But every single cop knows that means field training officer, right? And so I'm able to use those kind of things and talk in that context of what law enforcement is used to. And I'm on the team, kind of like John Christ with the Christian comedy and stuff like that. I'm in the law enforcement genre where people can relate to what I'm talking about. and I primarily write towards them, although that's not exclusive. I could still, like, I did a show for the people out in, I don't even know what they call, some golf course community. They hired me to come in and perform for like 300 people and I just did stuff that everybody understood, right? It just
Yeah.
kind of bridged the gap. But that's what I'm doing. And then it's turned into, I take a moment out of every set that I do. I don't care where I'm performing now. In the middle, I tell people why I got into comedy. It takes about 3 or 4 minutes to do it. But I think that there's a bigger mental health crisis in our country than just the law enforcement community.
Right.
It's a very real thing in the entire community. And I think the more people to hear that it's okay to talk about that, the less people we're going to have having mental problems. Because I think not just in law enforcement, but in other genres of the community, whether it's in a person who's got this tech job that has a clearance that doesn't want to talk about their mental health because maybe they're perceived as they'll lose their clearance, or maybe there's somebody that's in the tech world that doesn't want to be perceived as weak.
Sure.
Whatever it is, the comedy world, whatever it is, I want people to know it's okay to talk about their mental health. So I've really captured that part of it and made it part of what I'm doing. And man, it's just really exploded. And then with my,
it really has. I've watched your number, like numbers wise, you can quantify it from my end. You can just look at what you're doing, like, holy shit, it seems that you're killing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I don't want to take full credit for that, because you can't do things without other people supporting you. Yes, I'm putting out that content. Yes, I'm doing that stuff, but collaborating and working with people and building bridges and getting supported by other people to give me opportunities to be in front of more people, that has built me up to where I'm at today. And I take credit for putting in the hard work, but I also thank a lot of people across the board for giving me opportunities that have not given those opportunities. I certainly want to be able to be doing what I'm doing today.
Yeah. I mean, it's weird. When I did a spot with John Christ at the Comedy Works, it had to be last year now, but
yeah,
it's amazing what kind of an impact someone like that already has something can do with just hey, I like this guy, he's funny, or doing a video with him, and people are like, who's this guy? I want to know who this guy is. If you like him, I'm gonna like him. You know, and that's a great way. It's teamwork. We want to do it all by ourselves because we want to be king shit, but you can't. Like, it's so hard to be king shit without the help of other people.
Yeah, and like Lewis Black said, it's weird that we take something from people a little bit here. I've taken certain things from you, but like Lewis Black did a special where he talked about he was playing Carnegie Hall, and he's like, I'm playing the Fort Lauderdale Event Center next week after this, right? My point is, you have to enjoy every minute of it. And yes, there will be those nights where you're like, man, I am at the top of the game. And like, I've been in some situations where I'm like, I can't believe I'm doing this. Pro sound equipment, spotlights, the whole 9 yards, performing for 4,000 plus people in where was that, Lafayette, Indiana, for the National Explorer Conference, and going, holy shit, this is the top of it. But it's not.
That's
really
half of Red Rocks, dude.
Right, and it's crazy. But at the same time, you're like, next week I'm going to be doing like a 300-person gig. So you have to put that into perspective. And I know that there's so many levels above where I'm at.
Yeah.
But I'm excited to live through each of those right now. And I hate to bring the coronavirus back into this. But
well, that's why we're here, so don't worry about it.
But my dad would always tell me, I lost my pops right when I became a cop. And I became a cop in 1998, and he died in January 99. But my dad would always tell me, and I rarely talk about my father because it's just too personal for me. I think that's the next stage for me. But my dad, who is one of the greatest men I've ever had the privilege of knowing, told me one time, Mijo, which means my son in Spanish, Mijo, you never see a U-Haul behind a hearse. You don't take anything with you. And I think that's what I've staked my my being in comedy on. I have chosen not to just be in it for the money. I've chosen to be in it for the opportunity to do good in some places. Like, the money is really great to get it when you get it, and it's good in the corporate world. It's really good.
Yeah, it's great in the corporate world.
But it's even better to be able to, like the show in Philadelphia I just did, we raised almost 20 grand for this officer with cancer. And, I didn't make any money from that, but I'm just as proud doing that show as I am doing the show where I'm making 3, 4, or 5K.
Right.
And money doesn't make you happy, and we're seeing that now, right? There's a lot of people who are hurting right now, and I can't think of anything better. Like, I've been thinking of how we raise the spirits of people, and how can I put a show together. But the sad part of it is we can't bring the people together because we got to stay.
We got to have 6 feet away.
So maybe we go out to Mile High Stadium and just separate everybody, and like one of us is way up top or something. But but it's the truth, It's like there's nothing better, and this damn straight, Brent. There's nothing better when you're looking into the crowd and you're taking a break to take a sip of beer or sip of whatever you're drinking, and the crowd is you're crushing, and you look in the crowd and people are laughing, and you could say anything at that point, and they're going to be like, whoa! And you don't even have to be funny.
They're laughing at setups.
Yes. Yes. And that is really, I hate to say gets me off, but that's such an exciting feeling to be able to make people feel that way. And when people come up to me after a show and they say to me one of these two things, hey man, you know what? I didn't realize that I was struggling this bad, and I am, and I couldn't admit it, but thanks for sharing your story. Or they say, man, I've been really struggling lately. And I know you've had people tell you this, I've been really down for whatever reason. And tonight I really needed to laugh.
Needed this.
I laughed. I laughed hard, and I needed this. Thank you so much. And there's
what a feeling.
Yeah.
I needed this. You made my month. That just, God, there's, and that's what I mean. That this is the best, worst life decision ever, because you know what kind of power you have. You know what I mean? And it sucks when you can't deliver, but boy, is it great when you do deliver.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And there's going to be those days, I hate to say it, where no matter how hard you work. I mean, Hippie Man and I were, I think it was in Cincinnati, Ohio, maybe like 4 months ago. Whew! First show, dynamite. Couldn't have been better. Second show, I mean,
couldn't have been worse.
I hate to be so graphic, but we were eating a bag of dicks. I'm going to tell you right now, we were eating a bag of dicks.
Yowza!
It was terrible. It was like we couldn't do any worse than we did. You know what I mean?
I've done some shows with Josh Blue like that, where we're just like on Thursday, he's going through some personal stuff right now, and Thursday, I was tired. I had a corporate gig with Chiba Hut actually on Wednesday, and it went so well. Like, they bonused me out. I mean, it was just like, let me get you some merch. We love you. It was awesome, right? Their franchisees were like, we should get you for the store opening of my thing in Toledo, and so I'm loving it. And then day 2, I traveled that day, and Josh was in a bad mood, and so we were just kind of off, and we just couldn't, like, it was like, ugh, this sucks. And then the next day, it was lights out. You know what I mean? It was so it's funny how it can just go just like that, to the best thing, to the worst thing, and then right back. So
I hear that. And speaking of Josh Blue, man, that guy right there, if he's not an inspiration to every single comic out there,
right,
to get off your ass and really put in some effort,
right?
I mean, he's got cerebral palsy, but like, I have never seen to this day, I put him against anybody. I have never seen somebody murder so hard as that man right there,
bro.
I mean, I will put that dude against anybody any day of the week. I don't want to follow him. I'll tell you that right now.
I was headlining Comedy Works downtown, and he was working on a TV taping, and I had seen his set the night before, and I was like, okay, I know what to expect. So with this hippie man voice in my head, I always want to be last. So I put Josh, I was like, I want everyone to go up, and I'll put Josh right before me for 5. So I had a 10-minute host, a 10-minute opener, a 20-minute feature, and then Josh for 5. And I think Hippie Man did the 20. And then Josh did 5, and then bailed out of his set within a minute because it didn't go right. So then he's just up there just doing Josh Blue stuff and ripping it up. And I'm like, what did I do here? What was I thinking? This is just stupid. So
I know, but it's like once he's on and he goes into his zone, I mean, it's over with.
It's done.
Yeah. No, man, it's
He
crazy.
deserves what he has for sure. It wasn't given to him. He got that.
No,
So
it was not given to him. He has earned every single bit of that.
yeah.
I've even got a note in my Gmail right now that says, "Call Josh Blue." We were at the Christmas party. He's like, "Hey, bro, call me," and I was like, "Okay."
Okay. Okay, if you really want to, I will.
It's just so busy. I want to block out some time to call him. So, Josh Blue, if you're watching this or you see it in the future, I'm going to call you.
You should. You should. He'll take the call.
Oh, I know
if he's
he will.
not if he's not super busy, but he'll fucking take it.
By the way, you were talking about Chiba Hut.
Yeah.
That Afghani is amazing.
Oh, it's so good, bro. It's so funny because it was a fine line between because I do like their food and I did want to because it was a franchise meeting, so all their franchisees came in to for their week-long meeting, and I just want to be clearly I love your sandwiches. As you can tell from my stomach, I eat too many of these, and just I like to get I forget what it is now, but it's the Panama Red mixed with the chicken bacon ranch. So it's basically like a spicy chicken bacon ranch, and it is it's lights out.
Yeah, when I was going to see you, I'd just go up to the Chiba Hut up on the hill in Boulder, and I'd be like, I go in there, I'll be like, they're like Afghani. I'm like, you know me too well.
You know
Bring it.
me. Oh man. Well, now we're talking about highs and lows here, and you, and this is what I'm so excited to talk to you about, is that, and one thing because I wrote this down, going back to those kids that you were talking to about all those kids with the gun charges in Vegas, right?
Yeah.
I had my own little Scared Straight program that I had to go to when I was in high school. And it wasn't called Scared Straight, but it was kind of like that. But basically they put us, it was 2 days. We went to Canyon City Department of, and that was the old Supermax before
we call it DOC in the biz.
Yes, the Department of Corrections, exactly. And this was when in high school I got caught blowing up mailboxes with dry ice bombs, just doing high school shit.
No, you didn't.
But this was during the mailbox bomber. And I wasn't paying attention. I don't watch the news. So 8 cops swarm this car we're in, and they're just, guns drawn. I was freaking out. Meanwhile, I'm driving my friend's truck while my friend is losing his virginity in the backseat of my car.
Okay, got it.
And so,
so we're in the middle of melee and we're losing virginity.
Yeah, exactly, right.
Okay.
So we had to go to get this off because I was still a minor technically, and so I did this option and a plea in abeyance if I did these classes, whatever. And they took us to the Supermax or to Canyon City twice for 2 days in a row. And the first day they introduced us, they walked us around the jail. This is what life is like. And it was the most influential thing that I have ever been. I don't want to go to jail ever. I remember it's funny that because what sparked this memory was I remember seeing a 17-year-old kid who was in there for life for first-degree murder.
Oh.
And I'm just like, oh my God. I just couldn't wrap my head. You've seen it and you've heard about it, but until you are literally eye to eye with that kid who's in there for the rest of his life, it scared me straight. And then my dad had to come the next day, and they had not cop mentors, inmates that were mentoring us to not be idiots. And this one cop who was in jail this one inmate who was in jail for murdering his wife had to tell my father what he was doing wrong raising me as a child. And my dad has never let me live that down. And I just got to say that it's a shame that we don't still invest in programs like that, because that will keep our youth, at least a chunk of them. Some of them are going to do shit, period. You know what I mean? But
there's some people that have to touch the hot stove.
Absolutely. But I tell you, man, that it didn't scare me of police. It scared me of making dumb decisions. It scared me from, all right, well, I'm going to think twice before I go terrorize someone's property or shit like that, you know?
Yeah.
And I just can't. it's crazy that all these kids are going in on gun charges because half these kids I don't even think like truly comprehend what a gun can actually do.
Well, I see. I agree with you partly on that. I'm not trying to argue with you,
No,
but
it's fine.
we where we're at in Denver, Colorado. I mean, you're in LA, but
Right.
you've been here.
Yep.
The
For
greater
most of my
part
life.
of it, right?
Oh yeah.
Man, I mean, there's certain areas in our state where we might see a little bit of that, or a lot of that in a very dense area.
Yeah.
But wherever these kids are hanging out, and in some of these bigger cities, it's a way of life, honestly.
Wow.
And it's for me that's devastating because I'm like, man, I was just lucky to grow up where I grew up in the hood of Boulder, Colorado. But man, it's just a different life, and it's hard to judge it. And it just was like I told you when I said that, like I just couldn't believe it. I was taken aback by seeing all these kids on those gun charges, and I think it worked for some kids, but the other part of it is I think that this is what occurs is that when people tell you stuff, you kind of got to experience it a little bit for yourself, and nobody
Sure.
including myself, I don't like to be told, well, you better do this and you have to do this. It kind of pushes people to do that because you're on them so hard not to do it. And I think that the Scared Straight program, and I can't remember, something's coming to mind right now, and I just can't quote the statistics or whatever. But in some cases, the Scared Straight program has actually
Push kids back in.
As
Really?
opposed to being helpful. Now, for some kids, they just need. I think it works for the kids who really made that initial mistake and they haven't grown up in that hardcore kind of life. But some of the kids, where they're coming from, parents are abusive, mom and dad are not in the picture, and there's some type of, I hate to say, symmetry and equalness where if they are part of that mentality, at least it's constant.
They fit in almost.
Yeah, and so I can't speak to it. I just want to say something about there was something I read or watched a while ago that said that it actually pushes kids back, but not all of them. I think in some cases it is very valuable, but I think you got to be more selective about what people you're putting in that program. Obviously, it was a good thing for you.
Yeah.
But for some, it's not. And I think we have to be very selective about that because otherwise it just creates more recidivism than it does anything else.
Interesting. Big words out of Vinnie Montez.
Órale, vato, porque si quieres usar recidivism. Do you know the only reason I speak Spanish, and I hate to say this, the only reason I'm fluent in Spanish is because my parents, when I was young, owned a cleaning service. And I was born in Boulder, Colorado, the whitest area of Colorado, I think.
Right.
And people would call my parents, a lot of Mexicanos work for my parents. My parents are Mexicanos. And they would call the house and they'd be like, perdóname, ¿está doña Celia? ¿Puedo hablar con ella? And I'd be like, oh my God, what did you say? I have no idea.
Mom, it's for you.
I'm like, it's for you. And so like after this repetition, I was like, hola, señora, ¿cómo está usted? And that's all I was learning. And then as I got into my teenage years and I became an explorer because I was around my mom and dad, even though we spoke English at home, I still start picking up this, that, and the other. And then like cops would pull somebody over that only spoke Spanish and I'd be in the car with them. And they'd be like, hey, Vinny, come up here. Can you translate? You're Mexican. And I was like, and now looking back at that, I'm like, hey, wait a minute here. This is not Mexican.
Ooh, I have problems with that 10 years later.
So, like, because literally the cops would be like, do you have the license, the registration, the insurance?
Oh, boy.
And so it was forcing me to learn to be like, señor, tienes la licencia, registración y aseguranza. And I was able to start. It forced me to learn it. And then when I went to CU, I took classes too, and I just started practicing. And then when I went to the jail, I really got a chance to really practice.
For sure.
So
now, do your parents speak Spanish fluently?
Oh yeah.
They just chose not to raise you with that. Like they had a American or an English speaking household.
Absolutely. The only time I heard Spanish is like my mom will even admit this to this day. Is like when my grandmother or my aunts and uncles would come over, they would speak in Spanish because they didn't want to know the kids to know what they were talking about. But like I started picking up on it, and like I think I shocked my mom, probably 15 years ago when we were in a setting where I needed to speak Spanish, and I was like, I don't even remember what it was, but I was just I was integrating with the people that were there, and I was like, "Hola, ¿qué pasó? ¿Cómo estás? Llamo Vicente. Sí, yo trabajo para la policía y todo eso." And my mom was like, "Oh my God!" I mean, she was like, "This guy can speak Spanish."
He didn't get it from me.
So, and my mom, when she gets mad, like even to this day, she's like, the only time I hear my full name, Vincent Montez,
It's when mom's pissed.
yeah, it's when I'm in trouble. Vicente,
Oh,
Vicente.
no.
And I'm like, oh shit, it's about to get real.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Now, how long have your... Oops, that's not what I want to do. Sorry, I'm making a little graphic right now.
No problem.
How long have you... have your parents are still alive, or your mom is still alive, correct?
Yep, my mom's 74. She's still alive. My dad passed away in 99. He was
Damn.
60.
Still alive. And I've heard jokes about how you've brought her out, like, not that she comes out on like ride along. Well, yeah, she comes out on ride alongs.
Yeah.
Does she still do that?
Not as much anymore. So where I work, I'm a commander now.
Okay.
And so I'm more of an administrator. I like to think of myself as a cop because I am. I have a uniform, carry a gun. You know, I'm still fully credentialed, but I'm more behind the scenes. I consider, just to give the people that are listening a reference, like a commander is more like a project manager. Like where I work, I'm responsible for the fleet, our training program for our new recruits, and I handle things like that. But I'm not supervising the deputies on the front line anymore. I'm not a deputy on the front line. So I have more of an administrative job, you know, doing this 22 years. And, you know, I'm fortunate, but every now and then, yes, my mom will come out on a ride. She loves to come. And you're probably referencing the joke where I talk about her being on the ride along and then getting on the PA.
On the loudspeaker, yeah.
Yeah. And so, you know, I just take the things that I see, and my mom has been out on ride alongs, and she's always like, you know, Mijo, be careful because, you know, it's crazy, you know. And my mom has never been ashamed to say whatever she thinks or say, you know, and that's the cool thing is you get older, you can say whatever you want. You know, when you're 74 years old,
you've done it. You've made it.
You've been there. Yeah, you can say whatever you want. Ain't nobody going to correct you or nothing, you know. And all my friends and colleagues, they're so respectful of my mom when she comes in. She doesn't look like she's 74. I'm not trying to say my mom's hot or anything because that's kind of weird. But my mom does not look 74. She looks tops 50.
Wow, send her my way. Okay.
Dude, hey, easy killer. Easy.
Now, how did she take... So this is all kind of leading into your comedy special on Dry Bar. Was she there for that at all? Like did she get to see that that recording, or would that have been too much extra stuff for what you were doing?
Well, I don't know how you feel, but it is really hard for me when there are people that mean a lot in my personal life to be in the audience.
Yeah.
Because it adds a lot of pressure. Like, I didn't grow up cussing in front of my mom. Like, I'm serious. And I remember we were doing, I think it was one of like the Final Four or something at Comedy Works. It was some big competition. And I'm doing my set and I'm up there swearing. And I hear my mom laughing in the audience. And my heart sank. And one of my friends had brought her to the show, unbeknownst to me. And so it would have just been a lot of added pressure. You know, I've gotten more used to it as time goes on, but that was the first time I'd ever done a special. It was completely professionally done.
It was, it looked awesome.
Yeah, it was just incredible. And I was just so proud to be able to do it. So I flew out there alone. I did it, you know, without anybody there with me. And that was the one thing that I felt good with. And we got 2 shots at it. We had 2 back-to-back fully filmed shows. And it felt so good. The first show went so well. They're like, we got this in the can. If you want to do any different material next, go for it. And I was like, great. So I changed it all up for the second one. And the one that shocked me, because it's Dry Bar, and I really appreciate them for the opportunity, was they put Mexican Tickle Me Elmo into the actual special, which talks about me being at a 420 event.
Right.
And I was like,
I'm
my God.
They did that.
I couldn't believe they did it, but I was so proud of them. And the reason they told me they did it is because in the context of being a clean comedy show, I was the only person who could truly talk about that in the context that I did, where it doesn't come off as being, you know,
like you're a part of that group. Right.
Interesting.
Now, so So Vinny here recorded his dry bar special. It is now released online. This is the. Let me pull this picture up of of what your thing looks like here. Now it's the Armed and Hilarious is the name of the special, correct?
Yes.
And this is what it looks like. Let me get this a little bigger. Pow, right there. That's it right there. So when you're looking for it up, it's on VidAngel Studios, Dry Bar Comedy, Vinnie Montez, Armed and Hilarious. Now, yesterday I was talking to Chris Charpentier about his TV taping, and I'm fascinated by this because there's a lot of stress, there's a lot of things going in your head, and also the whole pre-production to it. First off,
Oh yeah.
how did it come about that you got this special? Did you reach out to them? Did they come to you? And then once you got the yes, how did you decide what jokes were going to make it and what jokes weren't?
So, I'm going to just use his name, Mike Rafferty with CWE,
Yep.
Comedy
Yep.
Works Entertainment. He's currently my agent, and he reached out to me after we had been talking for a long time. And here's where if I could give just this one piece of advice, this is the one thing I will say while we're talking about this. So Mike and I have been friends for a long time, and we have never really engaged like we've engaged over this last year and a half, because several years ago, I wanted to get into the corporate part of it. And he told me, Vinny, can you do 45 solid clean? And I said, Mike, I can't do 45 clean yet. I can't do 45 yet. And this was probably like, I don't know, 5-6 years ago, maybe a little longer.
Yeah.
And I wanted to do it. And it's not that I didn't want to push myself into it, but
That's like me going out with John Christ. I want to do I can do clean. I can't do church clean, and I can't do I can't do 30 minutes or much more than 30 minutes of more than PG-13 clean.
Right. And when you're doing John Christ clean, you got to be church clean.
You
know
got to
what I
be
mean?
G clean, right.
And so what I didn't do is I didn't put myself out as somebody that could do something that they couldn't do. And I don't think Mike forgot that. So when I finally came to him, probably 2 years ago now, and said, look, man, I can do this. I'm ready to go. I've proven myself. And I sent him some tapes to look at. And also, he had given me some gigs, which were corporate gigs before he represented me. And I was handling those, no complaints, and things were going well. And then we got to the point where he's like, hey, Vinny, do you want to take this opportunity? I will submit you and recommend you for this. And I was like, yeah. But I was ready to do that, and I knew that I had
the work, right.
I had the work in place, and it wasn't like I was kind of guessing at it. It was the material was tight, and it was clean. And so how it came about is he said, hey, I'm going to submit you for it, no guarantees or anything. And I was like, all right. And he's like, so he did, and they looked at I think it was like a 15 or a 20-minute tape, completely clean. And they emailed back, and they're like, they like it, so give us some dates. And there was still no guarantee of your availability based in between these parameters, and I did. And Mike called me back. He's like, hey, man, they're going to be in touch. I think they want to do this. And I was like, what?
That's got to be exciting.
And so they set it up for April last year. And I'm thinking, no, this is not going to go through. There's no way. And then, the lady who reached out to me, she was so professional. And she's like, okay, we're going to have you come in. You fly in here. We'll pay for all this stuff to get here. And then when you get here, we're going to walk you. This is the steps of what's going to happen. And then the day that I got there, I flew in, got there early, went down to the studio the day of the filming, and it was first rate. And, it
looks so good. I watched some clips. It looks so clean.
It is, and it's amazing. Like, they have to redo the stage every time they film for the background.
Yeah.
Dry bar people were completely professional. You have to do all these shots of you in the street or outside or whatever you're going to want to do, and then you film your pieces that are going to follow the actual special and the things that precede it. And there's a makeup lady who's constantly touching you up between the two shows.
You and I are sweaty people. I'm sure there was a lot of touch-up.
There was a lot of touch-up, and there was a lot of that white incandescent powder to keep the shine from coming on. But it was amazing. It was the first time I was really part of something like that. and it felt good, but there was a lot of nerves, like a
Yeah.
lot of nerves with it.
I bet. I bet. Now they so you had two takes at it, correct? So you
Hmm.
did, and it was that same night, back to back, like an early show, late show.
Yeah, back to back with like a regular like hour in between the shows, if that. And the shows were packed, bro. Like it was sold out, probably a month and a half, 2 months before I even got there. And people really know that Dry Bar puts on. I mean, they're bringing in the best of the best from around the country.
Yeah.
And I was there with Larry Omaha and one other comedian, and it was just amazing.
Yeah.
And these people were like really on their game. And you're trying to do your best, and I didn't close, but I was I think I was first one time, and I was in the middle during the second show. But I felt good about going out first during the first time because that's usually where I've been in my career. People put me out is
Early. Yeah.
early because they want to bring up the energy of the show.
Right. Right. Oh yeah, I know.
And
So
so when I go ahead.
so they did so they did 3 hours a night, three 1 hour tapings a night.
No, so they did. Everybody had a half hour special.
Oh,
So
gotcha. Okay,
it was
gotcha.
it was three half hours back to back to back.
Gotcha. Okay,
But
cool.
what made me feel good is the lady, that one of the producers, came up to me afterwards, and she's like, "That was awesome. We got it in the can. If there's anything you want to change up during your second one," and I was like, "Yeah." So I mean, I've changed almost that entire half hour, except maybe the
wow.
opening, and they were able, which made me feel good because like Mexican Tickle Me Elmo, that was not in the first
It was in the
show.
second show.
In the
Yeah.
second, but they were able to overlap that and mix it in. So yeah, it worked out well, and they took a couple other pieces too. So it was amazing. And when they told me they thought it was really good the first one, I was like, man. And then the other part was, I was like, oh well, I did it, but is it really good? Are they really going to put it out? Because they were not obligated to put it
Sure.
out,
Sure.
you know. And like
Y-
Sam
You had
Adams, man,
mentioned to me early that you were that was a fear of yours still, that you had taped it and they might not put it out.
right? Because there were other comedians in our community who had gone out there and still are, that they haven't put it out.
Right.
And I was like, man, I hope I'm not going to get not put out because this is such an opportunity. And I'll tell you what, once they released me, I mean, there have been a lot of opportunities that come for that. So it's just like, a few opportunities here, something else comes out. You're always just building on top of everything. Everything just eventually kind of comes together, but it's just you're building that platform and that foundation.
Yeah. Wow. That's cool. So it releases, and now do they own this? Obviously, they don't own your jokes, but they own the performance
Yes, they own the performance
forever or for a certain amount of time.
forever, but it's good.
Yeah, no, that's a good place to have it on. And so, also though, do they put it out on things like Sirius XM, or are you allowed to do that?
They have almost every platform. I don't know if
Cool,
they put it out on Sirius or anything like that yet, but it's on every other platform. Facebook.
nice.
I mean, there's some bits from my special on Facebook that have like 4 million views. There's, Instagram and the internet. Their app, they have a special app just for Dry Bar on people's phones, and everything is free to watch it. And yeah, it's out there. I mean, it's just crazy. If you type in my name, the first 4 videos that
Oh,
pop
it's
up,
all the dry bar stuff.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's all the Dry Bar stuff,
yeah.
and that's awesome because it's so professionally shot. You know what I mean?
You look like a damn pro, which you are. It's great. It looks so cool. It looks so cool. So then what's the next step then? So you got that out, and you're doing a bunch of corporate gigs already. Did this special help you get more corporate gigs, or are they rolling in kind of the same rate? Because you generate a lot of that work yourself.
Yeah. So I would say this helped me get a lot of the non-law enforcement
Okay.
because
Yep.
it's all the people who are watching Dry Bar for just Dry Bar clean content.
Yeah.
So I've had people that saw me on Dry Bar bring me out just because probably the best example I could tell you was I was in Ontario, California.
Okay. Yeah.
A small group, 150 people for an accounting firm, flew me out to perform for their
Their
holiday
holiday
party,
party. Yeah.
and it was the best time in the world.
With
And
accountants, really?
Yeah, I was like, these people. Well, you get a couple drinks in them, they're good to go.
That's true. That's true. They
And
loosen
they
up
put
finally.
and they put me at the end of their dinner, which was good, so that they weren't like waiting through all their awards and stuff. And it was amazing. It was great, and they made me. They anytime you do those corporate gigs, you kind of become part of that group for the entire night. And you know how it is. And so they were like, they let me eat their prime rib with them, whatever we had, and I got up there, and they had all seen pieces of my dry bar special, then seeing me live and do stuff that wasn't on that
Yeah.
special. It
Yeah.
was just great. And so you could probably some of the weirdest things that's weird is like when you're doing your jokes and people have seen it on dry bar, because you're not doing all of what's just on dry bar,
Right.
but the ones that you're hitting those hits and people are mouthing the joke while you're doing it, it is
How weird is
surreal.
that?
Yeah.
Wow. That's kind of like a rock star where you like hold the mic out like, sing it with me
Yeah,
now.
it's crazy. But people always, they're very nice. And then so they gave me a leap. Right now, I think one of the biggest things is, I partnered up with one of my friends who is doing comedy now, and she is one of those people who has that
Comedy Now,
talent.
the channel?
No,
Or she's doing
so
comedy at this moment?
she's doing stand up now. She's
Okay.
been a huge online influencer. Her name is Trailer Trash Tammy.
I've
That's
heard of her. Yep, for sure.
AKA Chelsea Lynn. Um, she is phenomenal, and she has just got that talent where she can walk out on stage. And we just did the Texas Takeover shows in Texas about a month and a half ago, and oh my God, it was amazing.
Mike Raftery told me about this. I heard it was a smashing success.
Dude, sold out months in advance. Showing up to the gig sites and at the Hyena clubs in Texas. We did shows in Plano, Dallas, and in Fort Worth. Tickets, people wrapped around the outside 2 hours before the shows are even starting.
Wow.
And I'm middling, which was just a privilege for me to be able to do. Officer Daniels was opening and emceeing. Libby Higgins from Missouri was featuring after him, and then I featured after her, and then Chelsea came out and closed. Shows were off the hook. And then, of course, the last night in Dallas, I fall off the stage, the last step, I rolled my ankle. I'm like with my foot up in ice. But now we
You
just
fell
launched.
off the stage? What were you doing?
Well, I was trying to avoid this lady who was sitting in the middle of the aisle, so I stepped on the edge of the step. My ankle. But thank God there was like this 300-pound, 6'4" dude named Ashley who caught me. If there would have been a small lady about 110
You would have
pounds,
killed her.
I would have killed her. And so it went phenomenally well. And now she's launched a new tour, and I'm on the tour with her. And we were scheduled for shows the shows were already sold out. Nashville, Huntsville, Raleigh, North Carolina, Virginia Beach, and more. And now we've had to postpone those because of the
Right. Yep.
COVID-19 virus. And those are all getting pushed back. But I'm excited because and some people will be like, well, you're not headlining. And I'm like, I don't care. This is exposure. And
Great exposure, too.
Great exposure. And I love being able to be part of this because she's such a classy woman, her and her husband, and all the people that she surrounds herself with, Libby and Daniels, myself. It's just good people. And we had a great time being on the road together in Texas. And I'm just excited to see what happens for the rest of this tour. But
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. That's great. Wow. And is she doing it at what's up, Mr. Marcus? He says hello.
Oh, hey, what's up? Zany.
You're doing it at Zany's? Nice.
Yeah, these are all Zany's clubs.
Those are going to be
Zany's
fun.
And I can't remember the ones in Raleigh. It might still be Zany's. I just can't remember. But yeah, tickets were selling out. I think there was only one show that had any tickets left in it, but it was just a matter of time.
That's awesome. Wow. Now, if people wanted to find more about you and be able to follow you and interact with you, what is your preferred method of interaction?
So I have everything: Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, Facebook. everything is just my name, Vinnie Montez, Vinnie Montez.
Cool.
Or they can go to VinnieMontez.com, my website, and it has
Cool.
all the links to everything on there.
Perfect. Right on. And that is his handle on the screen right over here. So make sure that. Oh wait, which way is it? This way? I can't fucking figure out how to get. There it is. That way. So make sure that you follow him there, as you absolutely should. And that's just so freaking cool to hear that story. You know what I mean? Because like I've seen things happening, and it's always fun. It's just visualizing how that works and what your life has been like, and man, you just it's quite a fascinating life that you've led, and I have no doubts that in the future it's just going to keep moving up towards the north as it should. And
thanks, man.
You know, the way that Mike has talked about you and that Trailer Park Tammy tour and stuff like that, and just what you've been doing, it's rare to see Mike excited about something. You know what I mean? And Mike, you can tell he's got that kind of that fuzzy feeling inside about what's going on. So it's just great to hear. It's just really good to hear.
Thanks, man. It's been it's humbling, and I'm just excited to be part of it.
God, that's great, man. Well, very cool. Well, I will be sure to link your site here in the chat room, and it's just VinnieMontez.com.
Yep, everything is
right.
VinnieMontez.com.
VinnieMontez.com. And now that everything is kind of on halt right now, what are you doing to kind of keep your comedy mind sane?
Well, I reached out to you. I saw your what was it, the first episode? I saw it.
It was the very first one, with Nicole Blaine. Yeah,
with Nicole Blaine, and you guys were talking about all the stuff she's got going on, and I just was kind of excited by that, because I think the biggest part about it is keeping your mind going.
Yep.
And staying in that comedy world.
Yep.
And I don't know about, I want to give you some kudos too, because it's really important for you to know, like, I have fed off your energy many a time, being in the room with you, being on stage with you. You're just such a powerful comic, and you just bring it every single time. Like, I don't remember a single time ever being in the room with you or being at a show with you where you're just like, I'm going to go up there and do,
and half.
You just bring it out every single time. And that's a credit to you. And here you are grinding, you're coming up with ways to do what you're doing. The Boulder Comedy Show, in Boulder, Colorado, at the Boulder Bohemian Beer Garden, has been such a success. You started off with a small show that was doing fairly well. The next thing you know, the first show selling out. Now every single weekend, except for the coronavirus.
Yep, except for
it's packed in there, bro. You can't even walk in the room. It's so packed, because so many people want to come out and see the comedians that you're bringing from around the country. And that doesn't come from, I'm going to tell you right now, I know Bohemia Beer Garden provides a venue space, but the person putting the shows together and producing behind the scenes, that's you. And
well, thanks, man.
You should understand how important you are when it comes to, your motivation for me to grind it out, because you're not sitting on your ass waiting for things to come to you. You're out there doing it. And just like this weekend, Comedians in Quarantine, what a great name. That is such a great name. Are you kidding me? Get out of here. I was like, that is genius. And I was thinking about it the other day when this first started happening. I was like, well, maybe we should be doing something online. And here's Brent Gill.
Doing something online. Right?
Yeah. And so good for you, man. And I know that there's a lot of people you're probably going to be able to bring on the show here in the next week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, month.
I have shit, man. I have a huge list of comics that I have. Where are we at? I have a massive list of comedians that I've already and other people that I want to talk to, because it's funny. I know a lot of comics that but there's a lot of shows out there with comedians talking to comedians about comedy. So we'll talk on that for a little bit, because that's what we know. But I got people in here like, I want to talk to Stephen AJ about being a D1 athlete. Like, what's that like?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, my friend Esther Steinberg is going to have a fucking baby. What the hell's her first one? What's that going to be like? Because she's also an artist. She's a comedian too. Rachel Weeks is a huge fan of Magic, the Gathering, not the sport of Magic. If it's a sport, I don't know what it is.
Are you serious?
I'm dead serious. She's into She's into that Magic stuff. She makes D&D play mats and sells them on Etsy. She's like
I don't know
queen
anything
nerd
what
over
you
there.
said. I don't even know what that is, but okay.
I don't either, and I can't wait to talk to her about it because I've just I have an idea of Magic the Gathering because we were kids and all the nerds played it, and they're still playing now, and
Wow.
yeah, so it's
Well, see,
just
that's what's so good about you, dude, is you're so eclectic and you have a respect for everybody's different things that they enjoy. And that's that's what draws me to you is like you're always inquisitive. Like no matter where you're at, like even when we're at, you've come to do my shows that I produced and I have you there. You're like, well, what's this and what's that? You're always inquisitive,
Yeah.
trying to figure things out.
Well, I was baffled by all your DJ stuff because I wanted to learn how to do that. Like, not learn how to do that, but all that technology and all that concept behind it. It's just not something you have. Like, why would you not want to learn that knowledge?
Right. No. Sam and I have retired, though, just so you know. We're no longer
did
DJing.
You?
Yeah, because the comedy's been so crazy. There's no way to do both.
So
we've been doing that for 20 years, and now that's it. I want to give a shout out to my boy, Sam Hard.
Yeah.
What's up, Sergeant Hard? What's up? Hey, weird thing. I want to give a shout out to Craig Reams too. But did you know we recorded and I wrote a song in 2019? Did you know that?
No.
2018 into 2019. If you look it up online right now, it's called Blue Line. You can look it up on YouTube. I produced it, co-wrote it with Craig Reams, who's a lieutenant for the Arapahoe County Sheriff's Office, and I'm so proud of it because it talks about the officers going to work, kind of a lot about what we've been talking about and making the ultimate sacrifice. And I'm so proud of that. But like, I would have never even thought of doing that, 5 or 6 years ago. But I'm just like, I'm a writer because we do that for comedy.
Right.
Well, why not? And I've been in the DJ thing, right? So we just put our heads together, and you should check it out, man. It bring a tear to your eye because it really brings a tear to my eye. And
it's on YouTube, and it's called it's called what now?
Blue Line.
Blue Line. Let me look it up. And would I just search Vinnie Montez in there?
No, just type in Blue Line Craig Reams, and you'll see me on the thumbnail for it.
Oh, there you are,
holding the American flag.
Yep. Can we play this online? Is that gonna
Sure.
Okay, let me download this and play this.
We own the rights, bro. It's all good.
Hell yeah. Let's do this. Copy, and we'll go here. And give me just a sec, everybody. We're going to play this bad boy.
Oh my gosh, I'm so honored that you're going to do that because this means a lot to me.
Hell yeah, bro. I got you. And here's what's kind of cool about this system I'm using. It took me a couple of days to kind of wrap my head around it, and I'm still kind of learning it, but I've been able to basically, like, I'm live update, like I'm making graphics in Photoshop while we're talking, and then I'm dropping them into my system here, which then broadcasts them onto the YouTube stream, and it's kind of a fun process here. I did forget that I am both downloading your Skype thing and uploading both of our videos while I'm trying to download this video. So it might take half a second for it to get down here. There it is. Cool. WebM. Oh, that's not what I want. Well, let's see if it works. For those who made the ultimate set. Now, is this a funny thing or is this sad?
No, it's not sad. It's just serious.
It's very serious. Okay. Let's see here. Let me take you out of this, and let's put a VLC source, and yep, and no loop, stop, pause, and download. Survey says, let's see if this works. Technology's fucking cool when it works, isn't it?
Wow. I hope this works.
Me too. Here we go. Yep, it works.
He woke up the same way he'd done 1,000,000 times. Grabbed a cup of coffee, hugged his kids, and he kissed his wife goodbye. He didn't know that today would be the last time, and he always told her Don't worry, baby, I'll be fine. She stood there and waited as he drove away. Tail lights faded, keep him safe, God, she prayed. The call came out early, a husband and a wife. Too much alcohol and they ended up in a fight. He got there in a hurry, without a moment to spare. Wife softly pleading for her life as her husband held the gun in the air. No hesitation, he knew what he had to do. Lord, keep my family safe, this I pray to you. It shows a life that others don't understand. A heart of a warrior, but a simple man. And knowing now it ends wouldn't change his mind. He'd hold that blue line from miles away. They came to say their goodbyes, a brotherhood, a family, doing their best, trying not to cry. Preacher said a few words. Life doesn't always seem fair. They handed her a folded flag and they bowed their heads in prayer. Amazing Grace bagpipes began to play. A final call from dispatch, but there'd be no answer today. It shows a life that others don't understand. A heart of a warrior, but a simple man. And knowing now it ends wouldn't change his mind. He'd hold that blue line. 15 years later, his boy is standing there proud, dressed in his uniform, and on his badge he wore his father's shroud, saying, "Daddy, don't worry, everything'll be fine. Know that I'll always love you, and I'm gonna hold that blue line."
Wow, what a hefty way to end the show. That was, so you helped write that song?
Yeah, my buddy and I got together. We went to, it's all about relationships and meeting people, right? So 3 years ago, actually the date is on the top of that police car that's riding through the forest there, the date we met.
3/17, I believe?
Yeah, March 17. We went to the Public Safety Leadership Conference by the School of Business at School of Daniels in Denver University. Went to this retreat, and my buddy Craig Reams, who we were both sergeants at the time, and he's now promoted and I promoted, and he's got a real big music background, and his brother is in production for videos. So we flew him out here, we paid his way, and then we produced this show, or the video, and him and I co-wrote the song, and it took us probably almost nearly a year to write it.
Wow.
And we finally got it down. We cut it. We were going to do it where I was actually doing part of the vocals as the harmony, and it just didn't sound as good without Craig just doing it on his own.
Yeah.
So we decided he was going to do it. I'd be in the video, but we co-wrote it. We copyrighted it. And yeah, it's out there, and it's been really good. And it got a lot of push last year, even by some of the local media when we put it out during Police Week, which is in May, second week in May. And yeah, man, it's great because I think it just, it's a story telling, the ultimate sacrifice that law enforcement officers have to make sometimes.
Yeah. Wow. Well, Marcus Sanchez says, Vinny, you wrote a song, OMG, and then also you have lots in this chat room thanking you for your service and what you do. And I thank you for your service, and especially for being a cool serviceman. You know, being one of the people that puts a good name to a group of people that have a tough job and a tough go at it. And I feel like you guys do get a lot of shit, but it's once you meet the right people, you're like, they're just us. They're just doing what we're doing. They're just trying to live, you know?
Well, I appreciate it, Brent, and thank you very much for having me on the show. And I just push that right back at you, man. It's been a privilege just knowing you and having the friendship that we've had. And I just think that communication and, you know, helping each other out, that's the only way people progress, having relationships and things like that. So thank you very much. I wish you the best in all the shows for Comedians in Quarantine. I love the name, dude. I love the name. So
I'm gonna try to do it every day that I can, and then co-brand it with, you know, the Brent Gill Show, so it's not just a, you know, week long or month long type thing, but it's definitely something fun to do, you know, because we're all trapped here, you know, so we might as well have some fun.
Might as well have some fun, man. Thank you for having me on the show, brother.
Hey, it was great to have you. Thanks again, Vinny. Be safe out there, and I look forward to seeing you again and chatting with you again soon.
Awesome.
All right, buddy. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye. All right, everybody. That was Vinnie Montez, comedian Vinnie Montez, on so many fun things there. My goodness, we talked about his dry bar special. We talked about his life in law and stand-up comedy, and, of course, his early years in law enforcement. Jail burritos, that's probably my favorite part of it. The fact that they're just out there just trying to make, you know, shit out of shit in those jail cells. So, again, thanks so much. Please follow Vinnie Montez. Make sure that you give him a like, give him a follow, watch his videos and stuff like that. And, of course, you can find him at Vinnie Montez. That's on all of his handles across the board. And, of course, you can always find me, your boy over here, Brent Gill. You can find me right here. And if you found this, then you already do follow me. But if for some reason you are new to my channel, I'm going to pop in my handle right here. And my computer is currently choking. There we go. And pow, pow, pow. You can follow me at I am Brent Gill. We're gonna be here. I'm gonna try to do this every single day if I can, if not about 5 days a week. So make sure that you tune in if you enjoy what we're doing here, and you want to help. Pass some time and support the cause. Tell your friends about us. Put this link up in your profile or in your status or whatever it is that you do. Just help us get it out. I think we're having some pretty fun conversations, and I look forward to seeing you guys next time. This was episode 3 of Comedians in Quarantine. I love you guys, and I will see you on the flip side. Let's get some new music. How about a trip around the moon? All right, everybody. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye. That was good.